What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a really special treat for you, and I'm not talking about the usual 4-cylinder turbo JDM boy stuff that we usually do here. I'm talking about something built in America. Not JDM, but your AWD Pat. Your whole life is basically JDM. You're right, it is. What kind of car could it be? Well, I'll tell you that. We are going to go for a ride in something fully equipped with all the bald eagles that you need to pretty much do anything. That's right, I'm talking about the 707 horsepower factory supercharger equipped Jeep TRACKHAWK. But not any Jeep TRACKHAWK. The Jeep TRACKHAWK we're going to be taking out has been modified and makes an estimated 1,020 horsepower. So yeah, pretty excited to show it to you guys. It's an absolute beast, basically the Hellcat motor. Huge 6-piston front Brembo brakes with 2-piece rotors. It comes with Öhlins adjustable suspension, huge 4-piston rear brakes, all-wheel drive with the I don't know what they call it, the Torque Flight or something like that, 8-speed automatic that Chrysler now puts in basically everything they make. So yeah, without further ado, let's check it out. So most Hellcat models come with a red key and a black key, and Jeep decided that you only get a red key, no black key, all the power, all the time. And it sounds insane. As I said, this Jeep has some tasteful modifications. It's basically a full bolt-on car running E85, and it sounds really, really, really great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and get some exhaust clips. Take a sec to appreciate the bald eagles flowing through this catless exhaust and the sweet smell of E85. I gotta say, I am a big fan for turbo 4-cylinder cars, but something about an American V8 just, I don't know, it just does it for me. It sounds, I mean, this car sounds so good. And here's the crazy thing. So I have the windows down right now, and I'm gonna roll them up, and you can see the difference. I mean, it's just such a sophisticated car. So we'll turn it back on. It's like, whoa, so loud. And as soon as the windows go up, I mean, you can't really tell that you're in a 1,000 horsepower SUV. So it's cool. I enjoy that. I enjoy that the car is somewhat civilized. Alright, so first impression getting in the car, it doesn't really feel like a race car. It feels like a very comfortable, very sophisticated, you know, SUV, as you would expect it to. You know, it's a Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, so it's got tons of features, lots of luxury, and I appreciate that. You know, I'm used to JDM cars that have nothing, and this is not that. So yeah, Jeep has made a car that I really have to give them a lot of credit on, or I guess an SUV. Jeep made an SUV. I keep calling it a car because this thing feels like a race car. It is a race car. For all intents and purposes, the Jeep TRACKHAWK is a race car. Yeah, it gets horrible gas mileage. Right now I'm running E85, and I think we're probably getting like 5 miles per gallon cruising. Yeah, it's a race car. But I do have to commend Jeep because I don't really have a lot of American cars that give me, like, make me feel a certain way, you know, and the Jeep TRACKHAWK makes me feel a certain way. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about as we merge onto the highway here. This car is an absolute monster, an absolute unit. It's got so much power that you really couldn't ask for anything more, and it's so comfortable. So yeah, it's one of the most fun cars I've ever driven in my life. I've got to be honest, and I think part of the allure is that it's a huge, almost 6,000 pound SUV, and you know, it's very good at just about everything. You know, it's insanely fast. There probably isn't a car on the street that would compete with the Jeep TRACKHAWK. And I don't mean like at the drag strip, but I mean like on the street, you know, like stoplight to stoplight. This would probably be one of the fastest cars on the road. And that means a lot, you know, it's a huge SUV. No one's gonna pull up to a Grand Cherokee and be like, I'm about to get gapped. But that's what happens. If you pull up to this big red V8 SUV, you will get gapped and you will feel very bad, and you'll probably go and sell your car and buy a Jeep Trackhawk. So besides the massive V8 engine making tons of power, there is a lot of things that the Jeep Trackhawk does really well. Firstly, it doesn't really feel like a big, ugly, heavy, lazy SUV. It feels like a tight 3,000-pound sports car. The steering is super responsive, the brakes are unreal, and the acceleration is also unreal. I mean, it's, you think, you put the thought in your head that you want to accelerate, and the car is going insane. Like, supercharged V8s just do that really well. I mean, and it's also kind of scary, you know, you could give it 5% throttle and next thing you know you're going 150 miles an hour. So I like that. It's such a good balance that Jeep has attained with the Trackhawk between a comfortable luxury SUV and an absolutely mad sports car. This car is pretty much good at everything and pretty much made for everyone. It has an eco mode for, you know, environmentalists. It's got great, huge seating capacity for, you know, family. It's got tons of power for the weekend muscle boy racer. It's automatic, so old ladies and old people can drive it very easily. So yeah, I mean, it's a perfect car for everyone and for everything. It's, you know, everyone needs a Jeep Trackhawk, but the perfect car does come with a hefty price tag. The Jeep Trackhawk in base trim will set you back just under $100,000. And I know what you're thinking, $100,000 for a Jeep seems ridiculous. But if you go to a Jeep dealership, they're selling base model Wranglers with, you know, manual windows for like $60,000. So, you know, $100,000 for the most powerful SUV ever made is really a performance bargain. And our Jeep Trackhawk that we're driving today has just under $10,000 in modifications, you know, which by modification standards is nothing, and it makes over 1,000 horsepower. You know, that's a bargain. That is a performance bargain. I know people with over $100,000 into their Subaru not making this much power. And not to bag on Subarus, I love Subarus, but I love the Trackhawk as well. It's a very, very good car. And it just puts a smile on your face. I mean, it's got this manual mode that is a little bit lazy, like most automatics with a manual mode. But it's fun, you know, it has a nice rev match feature and it sounds so cool, and you just press the gas and it's like so great. I mean, the noises this car makes is phenomenal. It's not a turbo 4-cylinder, that's for sure, but it's still good. I love it. I really can't get enough of this car, seriously. It's so much fun. I think what I love most about this car is that it gives me the power of a heavily modified sports car, and the acceleration and the handling and the braking, but it's just so comfortable. Like, I've literally never driven a car that is so comfortable. It has really nice Öhlins adjustable dampening suspension, and it feels like a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I mean, I don't know if you've ever driven a stock Grand Cherokee, but they're like super comfortable, and that's what this feels like until you get on it, or until you put it into track mode and it kind of stiffens everything up. But I gotta say, you know, coming from crappy old JDM cars, this is, I mean, it's just insane. It's got working AC, it has heated and cooled seats, all the windows work. It's an automatic. I'm not a huge fan of automatics, but driving them is really fun. You don't have to worry about much, you know, you're not shifting, putting clutch in, all that nonsense. So it's a ton of fun in that respect. And it's, you know, I can't say enough, it's so comfortable. It's, you know, it's got crazy luxurious leather seats, leather everything. The roof, the pillars, everything is all Alcantara. It's just, you know, Jeep really made a beautiful vehicle. And it's kind of crazy because I don't think, you know, Jeep has ever made a beautiful vehicle or something crazy. So whoever was in charge or had the idea to put the Trackhawk drivetrain, or sorry, the Hellcat drivetrain into a Jeep Grand Cherokee, you are an even bigger legend. And I don't think, you know, Americans, I don't think we deserve you, to be honest. You've basically started a trend that most manufacturers are going to have to follow, which is just putting the craziest, most powerful engines in everyday, you know, people's cars and setting them up beautifully. I mean, it's crazy what you've done. Now, besides costing $100,000, the Jeep Trackhawk does have a few downsides, and I did mention already, fuel economy is absolutely horrible. But I am willing to let it slide because of how fun it is. You know, it delivers the smiles per gallon factor, so I can give it a pass on the fuel economy. Secondly, it has this like a lane departure feature that I haven't really figured how to turn off. But if it senses you going over the line in the road, it kind of gives you like a Jesus take the wheel bump back into the middle of the road, and it's a little terrifying because, you know, I kind of every time it does it, I kind of get the feeling that the steering wheel is just gonna like full 180 lock and send me into a building or something. So I don't like that. As soon as I figure out how to turn that off, that will be really good. Yeah, it's doing it right now. Just like, you're in the middle of the road, get over. And I don't know, I want to drive the car. I don't want the car to, you know, be doing whatever it wants. But yeah, besides that, this car has sensors, basically 360 around the car, like parking detection sensors. It's got a rear backup camera, you know, the basics for, you know, top of the line, fully loaded Jeep Grand Cherokee. And once you have all that stuff in a race car, you really realize that, man, how have you lived without all of these features in your race car before? Because it's just, there's no reason to. I mean, yeah, you can get, you know, a really fast Corvette or an STI or whatever and strip it out and gut it out and get rid of everything and, you know, turn it into a monster of a street car. Or you can just get a Jeep Trackhawk, modify it, keep everything in it, and, you know, I've seen these things run 9s all day long without an issue. The all-wheel drive feels really good, you know, as to be expected from Jeep. And like I said, this has the, I think Chrysler makes it, the Torque Flight 8-speed, and they're basically putting that in everything now. The Hellcats have it, the Charger Hellcats have it, and it's a really good transmission. It feels really strong, it feels really sturdy. It is a little bit lazy when you go into manual mode, but if you just leave it in automatic and let it do its thing, it's super fast. It has no lag. It feels really good. So yeah, I mean, if you've got a spare 100K lying around, the Jeep Trackhawk is without a doubt the car for you. So yeah, other than that, you know, I guess we'll just do some pulls and have some fun, and you can kind of see what I mean. It is stupid fast. I every time I press the throttle, I feel like I'm gonna get used to the power, and it's just unreal every time. I cannot get enough of this car, seriously. I'm out of words. Jeep, you did a really good job. So as I said, this SUV is an absolute gas hog. And before we continue the video, I definitely have to put some E85. We're running pretty low. It has like a 25-gallon tank, which is kind of crazy, and that gets us about 220, 230 miles on that fill up. So, yeah, you know, you do the math on that, and that's not very many miles per gallon, but it is a lot of bald eagles and a lot of fun, so it's worth it. And luckily, you know, with everything going on, gas is super cheap right now. E85 especially, I think it's like $1.50 a gallon, so that kind of offsets, you know, the fun we're having. But you know, in regular times, driving this car would definitely make you go bankrupt. So yeah, I'm gonna put some E85, and then you know, we'll check out some of the other features and the build on this. So yeah. Alright, so let's check out some of the things that make this car, you know, so cool. One of my favorites to drive. First, it has a really well done, luxurious interior. It says Trackhawk on just about everything. It has really nice carbon fiber accents. Has this really nice LCD gauge cluster that says supercharged when you turn it on. And this LCD cluster has so many features to it. So it's got this little control panel here, and basically there's tons of performance information and performance gauges. So we have oil temp, trans temp, coolant temp, tire pressure, I guess that doesn't, IC coolant temp, boost pressure, air fuel ratio, engine power, engine torque, intake air temperature, battery voltage, oil life, oil pressure. So I mean, yeah, there's, I mean, that just comes factory. Mile per hour gauge, speed warnings, diagnostic checking, screen setup, messages, music control, trip, fuel economy. So we have 3/4 and the range is about 170, so that's pretty bad. The driver assist and the sensors, and then the 0 to 60 timer, quarter-mile timer, braking distance, G-force, that'll be cool to check out. Wow, so accelerating, this car is pulling about 1.4 G, so you know, that's pretty crazy. Braking, it's pulling about 1.1, and that's just what it has stored. So it's a very powerful car. Lap timer, lap history. Now, I'm not sure how this car would perform around a track, or like I've you know, thought about how it would do like autocross, but I bet it would do decent, just with the amount of power it has and the big brakes. But it's still a big SUV, so you know, that'd be interesting to see. Top speed, that's just recorded 153. The top speed on this car factory, I believe, is 186. So with 1,000 horsepower, I'm not sure what it could do, if that 186 is transmission limited or not. So yeah, tons of cool features. It's got this really big LCD display. So like I said, this, compared to like other cars, this just has so many cool things. It has a really nice Harman Kardon sound system. So you really get the luxury you pay for you know, the $100,000 price tag. It's got a really cool media display, crazy cold AC, a bunch of apps that you can use like Drive Mode, Travel Link. It has heated and cooled driver and passenger seat, and it also has a heated steering wheel, so that's a really cool feature. Wi-Fi hotspot. And now what sets this apart, I guess, from the regular Grand Cherokee is it has this app called Performance Pages, and this is really cool. So you're going to open that up, and it's going to load. And it gives you all these things that kind of we were just looking at here, but on a much bigger screen and a much more in-depth. So this one here is boost pressure, and it's showing horsepower and torque. It's got a virtual dyno that shows horsepower and torque while you're driving. It's got G-force meters, we already saw that. And this is a real-time G-force meter, so you can see the G-force as you're going. And there's the peaks again that we've previously recorded, 1.1 braking, 1.39 accelerating. It's got those gauges again, and this just gives you like a multi-gauge display where you can choose what you want to see. So it's really cool. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, this is a race car. but it's a very sophisticated, very well done race car. And again, I can't give Jeep enough credit for this. So here's those reaction timers again, and then home. You know, you can add widgets, do whatever you want. So yeah, over the older Grand Cherokees, it has this launch button that we may or may not try out today. So you press this, hold the brake, and essentially it puts it into launch control mode, which is kind of cool. It's automatic, and it's not like a stall like some automatics. It's a true launch control, so you can set it to like 4,000 RPM or, you know, whatever you want to set it up to be, and you can launch it like a manual car. And then it has snow mode, tow mode. You know, this race car has like a 7,000 pound tow capacity. We have tested that out. It does tow very comfortably, so that's kind of cool. Snow, sport, and then track mode. And track mode just kind of disables everything and puts it into, so let's see if we can go to drive modes. Yeah, so track mode turns everything into sport. Paddle shifters on, stability, sport, all-wheel drive sport, suspension sport, steering sport. Oh wait, we're in sport mode. Sorry. So sport mode turns everything to sport. Track mode turns everything to track with paddle shifting enabled and traction control off. And here's the screen where you can set your launch control. So currently it's set at 1500 RPM. You can also set shift light and race cooldown, which is a pretty cool feature. I believe this uses the radiator fans as well as the AC in the car to cool the engine down, which is pretty important for a supercharged car. So yeah, I mean, this thing is just loaded to the top with features that you never knew you needed, but once you experience them, you're like, wow, that's really cool. So let's check out a little bit of the build that makes this the monster that it is. So this car has a Borla Attack full exhaust. We got Vossen 22-inch wheels with Michelin Pilot Super Sports all the way around. A little bit bigger than the factory wheel, but a little bit better tire as well. Trackhawk badges. And you can just hear the fans kind of doing their thing. Liver noise, cold air intake, catch can. We're running 1300 cc injectors by Injector Dynamics. Smaller upper pulley, crankshaft pinning kit, and a larger fuel pump. And that's pretty much all it takes. To make power on these cars. Another thing, you know, these really are aggressive looking cars. Like the stance on this is absolutely beautiful. I'm really impressed with every aspect of it. When you actually pick up the car and put it on a lift too, it has a lot of very functional aero and kind of like little brake ducts that push air to the rotors. So that's really cool. And another thing that I don't know if anyone's really talked about, they come factory equipped with flex fuel sensors. So basically all you need to run flex fuel is a larger fuel pump and larger injectors, and the car is fully adjustable flex. You can put 91, you can put E85, and any combination of the two, and that's where you unlock a lot of power in a boosted car. So that's really cool. You know, I think flex fuel sensors are like $600 typically, maybe more on different types of cars. So I appreciate that, Jeep. You did really good on this, Jeep, and I respect what you did with this car. It's insane. It does everything really well. It's super fast. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just a beast. So yeah, in closing, the Jeep TrackHawk is by far one of the best vehicles that I've personally ever driven. It's an absolute unit. It has tons of awesome features. I'd say for the performance you're getting, it's a price bargain. You know, it is the most powerful SUV ever made, and it's really easy to mod. It's not very expensive. You know, we just talked about the mods this car has, and I believe that's, you know, just about $6,000, maybe closer to 10 with labor and the wheels and tires and everything. So, in closing, You know, if you have a spare $100,000 or you're just looking for a race car, a track monster that is also very sophisticated and very street drivable, the Jeep TRACKHAWK is the car for you. If you don't care about fuel economy, if you just want to go fast, if you just want to be loud, the Jeep TRACKHAWK, 100% the car for you. Highly recommend it. It's all-wheel drive too, so it's very practical. You know, for what it is, it's very practical. It's very usable, and it's kind of simple. You know, it has a proven, very durable transmission. It has a proven, very durable engine. So you know, you're not going to spend a ton. You're not going to be without the car for long periods of time while it's broken, especially if you leave it stock. I don't really see it having lots of issues if you leave it stock. So yeah, Jeep TRACKHAWK, the way to go. It's the future. Big, powerful SUVs. This is the most American thing I've ever driven. It's big and red and loud and powerful, and I love it. And you know, I can't lie and say I don't love it, because I do. There's a lot of things to consider. You know, the price being the largest. You could buy like 10 240SXs for the price of this car, or you know, like 20 Miatas. So you've got to weigh the pros and cons. You know, do you want 20 Miatas, or do you want one Jeep TRACKHAWK? Because 20 Miatas would be pretty cool also. You know, Miata for all your friends. But besides that, it's a beast. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing I would change. They absolutely killed the design. They absolutely killed the execution. This is the perfect streetable race car. So thank you, Jeep. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna do some pulls now, and yeah, see you later.